Alright guys, we are quickly going to go through all the Elementor things, everything. And I'm not going to go like in super detail of every widget or any feature because we are usually not going to use like very super detailed stuff. And I'm also going to show Elementor Pro and Elementor Free. And basically I'm showing every element. So I would suggest you could help me and support me by like subscribing, liking, or basically using the links in description. That way I get supported. So if you use my links for Elementor or any hosting, you could get it. Or if you go to my site and click on recommended, like this one, you could see it shows my recommended products like this. So you could get that too. So let's quickly get started. And let's say I'm not going to explain you how you can install plugins and all, but let's say you have installed Elementor and Elementor Pro. So I'll just click Ctrl E. So whenever you're on your site, you could just press Ctrl E and type new page, or basically go into your dashboard and then add it via page section. If you are familiar with WordPress, then you would know that you could also do it by going to pages and clicking add new, but this is a faster way to do it. So I'll just click add new page, and I'm going to go in super fast. So if you want to like check some detail, just slow down the speed or just keep going back, because this video would be like way too big if I keep going slower. While this loads, I'm just going to show you some more things. So if you go into Elementor in here, and if you go into tools, here you sometimes when you cannot see the update happening on your page. So let's say you updated something, let's say you created something and click update, then again, this is not how slow Elementor works. It's just my internet, and also the server or the hosting that I'm using is in US, and right now I'm in India. So obviously it's going to run slow. But basically, let's say you updated, did some changes, but you're not seeing it on the live site. Then one of the things that you need to do is click regenerate sync and then save it. And also, like if you have any cache plugin, or if you are using CDN, which is on your hosting, then just clear it, and that would show you guys. So this is how it looks. And also there's going to be an update for this panel. It would be basically on top. So nothing's going to be different. It's just going to, this panel would be on top instead of here. But till then I'll use this one because this feels like much better, because I don't like the top bar which is shown around here. If there is any bug that happens when you update it, then you could also do rollback from version control. There's maintenance mode. You could do coming soon and maintenance from here. Again, kits. So if you download some kit, Elementor, the whole website kit, then you could import it here, or you could also export your kit to just, sell it or just give it to other stuff and stuff. And safe mode is basically, if you clicked on edit with Elementor and it just never loads, it just keeps on spinning, you could enable the safe mode. And I've never used this, so I don't know. I've also not used this a lot. So it basically just replaces the URL. So you could just make the HTTP go to HTTPS. Again, these are something that I'm just, also for some reason this is not good because it is not loading for some reason. So one thing we need to do is go into Elementor settings, click on features, and then, so if you want to try the new navigation bar, then you would basically go into editor top bar and active, but I'm not going to do that. I'm much more familiar with it. I'll just wait till this is like fixed. It is still in alpha, so no need to do that. Make sure nested elements is active. By default it should be active, but if it's not, just make sure it's active. And basically what this are is Elementor like creates new features, but it does not like just pushes it. It actually adds it in this features tab, and then people test it out by activating it. By default, you see it is disabled, but people will activate it and then test it on their site and then give feedback to Elementor. And once all the fixes are done, they add it to like the normal one. It will be automatically activated when they do all the fixes. So let's get started with our page. Now we are using containers and grid. The old tutorials will be made with like sections and stuff. It is very old and it is also slow. So we are going to use containers. And to do or add anything in that. And also, if you don't see this navigator, you could basically click on navigator or these three icons. For time being, I'll close it. So let's say I drag an container like this, and now we got a container like this, and this is where we add our stuff or whatever we want to add, like text, images, and anything. One thing you could say is, even if I do like full width, it is not going completely left and right, and this is controlled by your theme. So how much distance it is from left and right, it is controlled by your theme. But let's say if you don't want to use your theme and override it, you could click on settings. Obviously, you could change the title here, status, you could add a featured image here. Just click on it and then, choose any featured image that you want. Basically, when you would be copying, pasting it in a link, and sometimes, when you add it in, let's say, Discord or Twitter, it basically shows the image automatically. It pulls from the site. This is the image that would be shown on that site. So let's say if you paste this link on Facebook, then it will automatically create a thumbnail for that with that image, this featured image. I don't know what order does. Allow comments, hide title. I've never used this one. So what we are going to do is, there are two options. So Elementor canvas, basically what it does is, for example, if I go to my site, I have added this top bar and this footer via my theme. It's not made with Elementor. So what Elementor canvas does is, it will basically not load the header, this header and this footer for this page. If I click on Elementor canvas, so if I go into my products like this, so I create Elementor templates too, but this is what I want to show. That if I go into this, you can see that if I go into my live demo, you can get this free template, by the way. You could see that this is not showing the default header that I was using. It is actually using my custom header that I've paid. It is not showing my site-wide header. And what I've done is, I basically have chosen canvas, Elementor canvas, so that it does not load this header and footer. And basically, I then added like my custom differently created header on here, and then my own footer around here with different one. And that just allows you to if you don't want to have like header and footer for this part, you could also remove it. There's no issue, but make sure you will have to keep it on Elementor canvas. And then we will do Elementor full width, which is basically it will show the header and footer, but it will also make it like full width, which is like left to right, and it will override the theme. So by default, my theme is using this section, so this box layout. So the sections would not go outside this like this. It will not go outside this stuff. But if I choose Elementor full width, it will override it, and it will make it go from left to right, basically. And you could see it is now going completely from left to right, and before it was only having like some space between. And you don't need to worry, it doesn't mean that you have to use full width. You could basically go into box width and have stuff like this. So what does box width does is, let's say, so right now we are in here container width boxed, and if I add, let's say, text like this, let's copy, paste, you could see it is actually limiting the content in this section, which is 1140 pixels. If I make it bigger, I can make it till 1600 pixels. And then maybe I should just, right now it is going from 1600 pixels, but it's not, my screen width is like 1920 by 1080, which is full HD. So you could see it is still not completely full, because it is, again, I've chosen 1600 pixels. And obviously you could like type more and all like this, and it will actually get bigger if the slider is like limiting here. But next thing is just full width. It basically uses percentage. So I want this section to be 100% of my screen size. So no matter which size the customer uses, it would be going from left to right completely full like this. You see, the reason why you cannot see this space is because the text stops here. But if I add more text, it will go from here to here. And obviously you could always reduce the size by making it, let's say, 70% like this. and now it is only going to be 70% of the size, whereas in boxed we actually were using pixels, so it would be fixed size and not percentage. You can obviously change the values by clicking on pixels, percentage, rem, wave port width, and then like custom. So if you want to do like calculation like 50 pixel plus I don't know, like something like 50% plus 50 pixels, stuff like that. If you want to do it, you could do it by just clicking the pen icon. So let's try another way. So if I click on this one, I get so many multiple options, and again these are just pre-created structure. You could actually create your own structure. So I want the column to go from top to bottom. So you could see this one, direction. Or should I go by like this? I think that would be good. So we already checked how much the width is. Then the minimum height. So if you want to have specific height given, for example, I want this to at least have 500 pixels, because if I remove this and keep it empty, right now I add a heading. Now this container, you could see it stops after this heading. But let's say I want it to have specific height like 300 pixel, then it will always have that 300 pixel. Next thing we will look is this direction stuff. So the direction is simple. If you want the content to go from left to right, you see, now whenever you add like new widget like this, it would go from left to right rather than top to bottom. And obviously, okay, now and if I just make it go from this direction, it will go from top to bottom. So you could see one, text 2, and then image, again reversed, and then column reversed. Usually you would use these two options when you're creating responsive for mobile and all. And right now we will keep it like this, like this column, which is commonly used like top to bottom. Next is justify, and basically to explain to you guys what justify does, I'll make this one like 500 pixels. Right now, if I want my content to start from the end, which is bottom here, I can choose to start from here. So whenever I copy or duplicate stuff, it will actually be always from bottom. Next is center. So if you want this to be centered, horizontally centered, you could do that. Start, again normal, space between is, it will basically just have one thing at the start of the container and at the end of the container. You see, if I make it this way, it would just start from this section and this would be at the end of this, and then space would be equal space in between. There is space around, so there is space, this was space between, so it will calculate the space between. Space around, which is basically like this, it will totally neglect. How do I show you guys this thing? Let me add another container so it is easier to visualize. So this one is full width. This one I'll make boxed. Actually no, I'll make this one boxed. Okay, so let me show. So you see nothing's working right now because we added extra container into it. So I'll have to change it for this inner container. Select center and space between. So there would be like one at the end, one at the start and one at the end, and everything would be like selected between. Space around is basically, it would just create like space. I'm not sure how to explain space around. I've never used that, but space evenly, again equal distance between each element. So if I just keep adding more stuff, it will just keep creating equal stuff like this. Space around, space between, end, start, and that stuff. Now let's check. So you could also see that the way this changes is different. So if I'm going from row, then it is showing center like this. So if I add text, and I just type DMmotionarts.com. Let's say like this. If I make this to go vertical, it changes the way the contents is justified, and if I do this, it changes the way it is justified. So basically, if I'm going from top to bottom, the center is horizontal center, but if I'm going left to right, it is vertical center, like this. No, it is this is horizontal, right? Okay, whatever. This line, just understand it. And then if you want to align the items, you could always do is center it, so everything is centered. And basically it will work same, but we are basically centering on this middle part, the end part, start part, and based on which direction you use, these icons would change. So justify and align item would change. Another way to do it is basically go into your widget, go into advanced, and then you could also, justify self. So it will only align itself. So if you do for the container like this, it will try to do for every element inside this container. But if you just click on this specific section, you could select where you want. Now you again don't need to go into so much depth into it, even though I'm saying you will automatically be just doing stuff. So don't worry, it's not much complicated. So we have done align elements. Let's say I'll keep it on center. This is basically the gap. So by default, Elementor adds like 20 pixels of gap, and if I do is duplicate some more elements like this, it is actually adding 20 pixels of gap in columns and rows. If I do it like this vertical, it is adding 20 pixels. So I can always remove the gap completely and then add it manually. So, or if I want to just have for columns or rows like this, you could add your specific value that you want. I'll keep it default for now. Now wrap is, so for wrap I'll need to explain it in future. So not in future, after this in future in this video. So let's go to additional option, and then we have overflow and HTML tag. So let me explain to you how overflow works. So I'll add another container inside this. Guess I'll make this smaller. I'm eating a bit right now, I'm hungry. Okay, so let me just choose this container and choose overflow hidden. And what it basically does is, let's say if I add a margin like this, once it starts going outside this container, you could see it's basically just disappearing. But if the overflow was default, it would actually show that element always there. And it allows you to create like cool animations too. So if I go into and show you the buttons that I recently created, and I have a video on it, so how you can make these buttons and all in Elementor. So you could see this animations, it is done with like overflow state. We are basically creating this background, and then we are actually placing it outside this button, and when it comes inside this button, it is showing. But whenever it's outside this button, this purple color, it's not shown. Again, not much complicated, but I hope I'm not confusing you guys. So let me choose this container again. I'll make the margin 0. Then we have multiple options, which is HTML tag for this container. And I've never used this except this A-link. And what A-link does is it adds a link to this container. So if I add any link, this whole container would turn into a link. But the issue with this thing is it says don't add links to element. There are kids shouting for some reason outside, man, when I'm recording. So basically, if you add a link around here, you cannot add links inside this stuff. So you cannot add button, you cannot add stuff like button, and then it would actually break it. So if I add button in it and then check it on my browser in like this preview page, so this is basically preview, this eye icon, and you could see it just broke it because button actually has a link option. So, and I just never use this HTML tag option because it's rarely used. what I actually do is I install like another plugin which allows me to add like what you call something called wrapper link. So this one is different plugin called premium add-ons for Elementor, and it allows me an option to add a wrapper link, and it basically adds a link on top of everything. That way you could actually add buttons and stuff. But if you don't have any links inside that and have this container, you could always just convert it into a link and you could make it. Next thing is style. So in this container, you can see background. We have multiple options. So we have classic, which is basically choosing a color that you want. We have gradient option. And let's say for some reason your gradient is not showing like this. You just have to make sure that both colors are chosen. So you just need to make sure like it is chosen. And then you could create cool stuff like this. And what you could also do is, if I just make this 0, I can actually create like, you know, no feathering effect, and basically just like 50-50. So top 50 would be like this and bottom 50 would be like this. If I turn the degree to like 90, it would be like this. So you can see how it looks. And all of this is like normal. It's like radial. So right now it's in center, and then you could make it go like feathering effect like this to create the centering gradient. You could change the location. So if you want it to be like top left and then have stuff coming from the top left, or this color being like on top left, you could do that. You would play with like all of this stuff. Next is video. So again, if you wish to add a video, you could basically just paste a video link in here. You could choose the start timer and all, so you could add any video. So basically what I'm doing is I'm actually copying the URL like this, and then I'll simply paste it in the video link section, and then it will add this video in the background. Obviously if you add it to like the bigger one, it would actually be better. So if I add it to the main container which is on top, I'll just paste it and then wait for it to load, and you could say it is showing the video. I can choose when it starts, when it ends. If I only want it to play once, if I also want it to play on mobile, I want to have privacy mode, which is basically adding a no cookie stuff. Privacy mode, I don't know if it works with the latest YouTube or not, but it basically adds a no cookie filter. Background fallback is something that you should always add. And what it does is, let's say if your video does not load for some reason, it will use this image as a background like this, and also it will use this image before the video is loading. So let's say if someone loads your site, comes to your site, and he has like slow internet or something, so it takes like longer for the video to actually start, then before that the image would be loaded, and as soon as the video loads, it would be replaced by the video. And another thing is, this is all good. Slideshow, never used it, but basically if you choose like multiple image, it would just keep sliding between those, like a slideshow, basically changing the images. I've never used it, so again I'm not sure how good this slideshow effect is. You basically select, create new gallery, insert, and then it will automatically just create a gallery. So right now it is every 500 millisecond it will change. Transition fade, transition duration, how much time it takes to transition from one to another. So basically it takes 500 milliseconds for one transition, one slide to, it will, one slide would be showed for 5 seconds, and then when it's doing the transition, it would take like 0.5 seconds. To cover, you could do position, lazy load, Ken's burn effect. I've never used the Ken's burn, so it's basically just zooming in and zooming out, I guess. Ken's burn, never used it, so again, not quite sure. But again, in the classic tab, you could also add an image. So you could also choose a color, and if you use, let's say, a PNG, then it will use this color, and then PNG would be on top of it, the transparent image. I don't have one PNG, so I'll just add this way. But again, not the perfect way, right? Because the image is not covering it. So what we could do is we could choose position. So right now the center would be in the center. So center of this image, I'll keep default for now. scroll and fix. So attachment, if I do scroll, you could see nothing's happening, it's same as this one. But if I do fixed, the image would be always be there, and you could scroll like this. Repeat, if I do no repeat, it's only going to show once. And it's good if you want to just have, let's say, a design element. For example, if I go into my products again, you could see how there's an image on the right side. So what you could also do is add an image like this and then make it go like top right, and then make sure this image is bigger, not have like this size, and then you could make it be on the right side like this. There are multiple ways to do it, this section, but this is one way you could do it. And what we need to do is, let's say if I don't want it to be like this and want like a nice good image, for example like this one, which is a completely full image that I made. So this is one image that is actually made for the background. What you could do is go into display size, click cover, and it will cover it. Basically it will try to force itself to cover the whole site or whole section, this one. Next is contain. So contain is basically, it will try to just contain it in that section like this. Custom is basically how big you want it to be. So here I could, if I want it to be like 40% from the right side, I can make it 60%. In this one I've done, I think, 40% like this, but that's one way you could do it. Now scrolling effect, the way scrolling effect works, so let me just use like a better image. So I'll use this image that I had made previously. Now here I forgot to show you guys one thing about minimum height. If I want it to have specific view height, so if I choose to view height, I can choose that I want it to be 100% of the height. So no matter which size of screen it would be, this section would always be 100%. If I only want it to be like 90% of the screen, so you could see it is covering 90% of this first screen. So when you want to create a section which has like this first section is perfectly aligned from this to this, just make sure it's 100. And right now I'll just use pixels. This is the image that I've chosen. I'll choose, I guess, contain. Never mind, I'll choose cover, no repeat, and then I'll make it, let's say, center. Why not? And this is how it looks right now, but I can add a scrolling effect. So when I'm like scrolling, you could see it is actually moving a bit on top left, and this one controls how much it should move. So right now nothing's moving, but if I add a lot of this effect, and it actually requires to zoom in for some reason. So it is zooming in for some reason. And again, I don't use parallax effect a lot, but this is how you make it. When you scroll and the section behind them only moves a little, that's how you do this. Let me duplicate it so you could see it in perfect action. So right now if I scroll, see it moves, and if I just go into styles, this one, make it a lot more like this, 4%, you could see the difference of it moving. It basically moves with different speed on scrolling, and it gives your site a bit like lively feel, and also makes it look like bit professional. There's horizontal scroll, which is basically left and right. So when you scroll, it goes from left to right, you could see. These are just animation effects that you could do. Again, transparency, when I scroll, so I want it to be, so from top I want it to be full like this, and when I scroll, again, I have not used this a lot, which is why I'm a bit confused how this works. I don't do like animations a lot on my site. I don't like to do it. But basically, this is how it works. Let me add 200, 200. I'll make this go transparency based on effect related to viewport. Oh, sorry, entire page. So you could see So you could create like an header which is like showcase when you scroll down. So when you scroll, the header pops up. So for example, this header would just disappear and then another header pops up. That's something you could make with this transparency. Again, blur, pretty simple. This one is doing weird because I want it to be on my waveboard when it's like not blurred. And I am like not much familiar with how to like use this one. But basically you could make the blur effect and create like lively sides with it. Again, scale does the same, it just zooms in and zooms out to make it look like real. Or not real, live. So let me just remove it. Now mouse effect is very simple. If I enable it, wherever I am moving my mouse, it is moving the image. So if I'm going on the right side, right bottom, it is making it go opposite side. And you could actually create like some cool elements on it. So basically you will create, let's say, a city around here and then small buildings around here, and you could make the buildings move with like this stuff. And that's like direct. So basically it is not opposite. Wherever I'm moving the mouse, it is moving the image to that direction. Very simple. The speed is dependent on what you do or how quick it needs to move. And it's very simple, but I've not used this scrolling effects a lot, which is why I'm not getting much more in details. Background overlay, you would use it very commonly. So let me remove this one. Let's say I choose an image. Let's say I choose this image. Why not? Okay, it's blurry, but I guess it is understandable for now. And you could see sometimes if I add like text, it's not much visible. It's hard to read this text whenever you are using for, let's say, your hero section, which is like this first section. This first section is called hero section. You want the text to be visible very nicely. So what you could do is you could add an overlay like this, make it, let's say, black, and then I can choose an opacity. So you could do it from here, or you could also choose it from here, the opacity, and that just basically makes the text easier to read. So now you could say it's easier to read. Without this, it's hard to read, and you want the site to be readable at least. And the best part about this background overlay is that you could make the opacity go 0, and on hover you could make the background opacity be 1 like this, and when you hover on it you could do this effect, or you could also do the opposite one. So if I want to do this, I can do is when I hover on it, it changes the opacity. It does not work well with colors, so it cannot like change the color. It only works with like opacity. You see it bugs out if you choose like different colors. Like this. Or make it complete black. Again, gradient, same stuff, nothing different. And the transition duration is basically how longer it should take to like do the effect. If I do, let's say 0.2, and it would be super quick, but if I do, let's say 5 seconds, then it would go like very slow on hover. So like 0.3 is usually what I use. So let's remove this effect completely. You could also add an image, by the way. You don't have to always use like colors. Basically, let's say if you create this image and then you have some frames, so frame borders, you have a option of that. You could basically just go into this, add the image. I don't have it for now, but I think we can just try with like the food icon to show the food image to showcase. So you could see how it looks. We are basically, let me remove this one. We are basically adding this image on top of it, and then if you want to, you could give scrolling option. So it doesn't seem there is an option to like do the scrolling animation, which when you move your mouse. But this is what you could do, add an overlay over it. I usually add it to add like noise grain effect or some kind of textured effect, and it works nicely because it also allows you to basically go into blend mode and choose like different screen types. So just like Photoshop, you could do it. Border, very simple. You go into this solid 2 pixels or whichever pixel you want and then choose the color. And you could see we have added a border. We can make it 20 so that it's much more visible. And then border radius is how much the corner should be. So if I do 20, you could see it's 20 pixels for that thing. It is not showing for the image like this. It's not doing for the image, but it's doing for this part. You could see that if I just make this border width to 0, it actually adds the image borders. So if you don't want to have, let's say, border width, you could always just, make stuff like this. But if I add border, it would add the border on after this one. So the image would be like this, you could see. And there are multiple options of borders. I'm not gonna go over it. And there's also an option to, let's say, if I'm doing 1 and on hover, if I do 5, I can make it go like this. So it will go from 1 border width to 5 border width on hover. And here's the transition duration. If you want to add shadow, so let's say if I choose this container and I go into border, I can always add a shadow. I'll make it look like this so that it's easier to view. Remove the blur, and then you could see the shadow. So we have added like a shadow behind it. And then always we can just, add our border and get this kind of effect. So I'll keep default for now. Shape divider, I use this very rarely, but it's easy to make. So if I go into my borders again, let me just make everything go like normal. Okay. So what shape divider does is on the bottom side, so you could choose where the shape divider should be. You could add like both, I believe, but I'll add it on bottom. Yep, you can choose like different for like top and bottom, so you can see. And basically we are actually creating a shape below like this to like change it to the next section. And then there's like multiple options. I'm not going to go in each of every one right now, but basically we can choose the wave height and stuff like this. And then we can choose the color which is shown below. So now if I choose, let's say, red, and then create like new container below it with like this red stuff, make the height a bit bigger, and again remove the margin so that it's understandable. So right now it looks like this. So we can actually create like a shape which automatically it just feels like natural, and some like design element that you could do, so to show like it's connected. And obviously you could always go here, shape divider, make it to none, and then here you could also do is go into shape divider on top and then add clouds. But you could say it does not work like the way you want it to be, because it's an image, and there is no option to actually just cut into image. It has to be color. So I think I would like for like Elementor to add that feature in future. That way we could just basically cut the image like this, but right now we have to do it like this by basically just choosing whatever you want, and then we can flip it, we can invert it, and we can bring to front. So if you want it to be on top of everything, or if it's not showing, just click on bring to front. This is not something that is free. This is on premium add-ons. This is like a different plugin completely. So let's see what else we have. So I'll select this inner container. In the advanced tab, we can basically just add margin. So if I click on this stuff, let me make it like visible pretty nicely. Again, I guess this color. The image, I'll remove it. Then have, let's say, something like this. It's way too bright. Okay, so let's try this. Now I'll remove this container by just pressing delete. I'll select this one, and let's say I want, if I remove, let's say gap, and let's say I'm choosing to do zero gap. You don't have to do zero gap, but I'm just showing there isn't much space. So what I can do is I can add space, but right now I'm adding space from like 20 pixel on left, 20 pixel on top, 20 pixel on right, and 20 pixel on bottom, and we are adding margin right now. And the way margin and padding works, I'll show you soon. But let's say if you don't want to have this directions, like different direction, you want different values, then you could just unlink it and then you could add manual space. So you see it is 20 pixels, 50 pixels like this. And same with padding, you could see, you might say that there's no difference, but I'll show the difference. My throat is starting to give up very quickly, so I'll make this red. So I just added a background to this heading widget. We will go into it in details, but don't worry. So in this one, if I, let's say, add margin on 20, you could see what's happening. 50, it's adding a margin, but if I add, let's say, padding, this is what's happening. So just know the difference between margin. Margin is adding space between the element and wherever you're adding the margin to, but padding is actually just adding the padding. It is padding inside of that container or anything that is used. For example, for this one, we are adding padding inside of this. So if I want to have like nice spacing and color, and if I add 20 like this, it does stuff like that, you see. And I can always add specific values around here. So like 30, you can always like make it move like this, make it bigger, smaller, and margin basically does this. And the best part of margin is you could actually add negative values. So sometimes if you want to create, like say, specific stuff, like if I want this to be a bit top like this, I can make it, but if I do it with padding, it cannot be done. And margin, I can just make it go like on top of stuff. So you could create like nice layouts, like being cut like this. I keep eating peppermint chocolates because my throat is starting to give up. Now one thing I want you guys to know, that all of this have like layouts, style, and advanced tab, but each of them have like different stuff. For example, if I go into any container, they have like order, size, position, stuff like that. And here we have different options. It is same here, but we don't have like the grow option and stuff. Never mind, we do have grow here. Which option we don't have? So we do have every option around here, but there is some difference between here, and then there will be some difference around here, like background, border, and stuff. Whereas in container, the background and all would be here, background, border, and here. So right now I showed this one. So in container, let's see if I've missed anything. Motion effect is very simple. Again, scrolling effect that is applied for the images, it is applied for this whole container. So anything, this container and anything any element inside it, it will affect everything rather than just the image. Everything's same. Mouse effect, again same. There is 3D tilt option, which is basically does this stuff, and then opposite. Mouse track is basically the same. And you could see when I do this, it is actually moving all of this contents inside it too. But when we were doing for the images, it was only doing for the images. And again, this effect, scrolling and mouse effect, is only available for Elementor Pro, and you will need to buy Elementor Pro for it, and you could use the link in description, and that way you could support me. Sticky is basically if I chose it to be sticky on top, and you could see when I'm scrolling down, it is staying on top like this. And you could create your header or some content which you want to showcase. For example, if you want the add to cart button to just stick around here so that people just, keep on, or that section is shown. For example, let's say if I want this section to always be stuck on right side whenever I'm scrolling, you could do it. That way I would keep going below, but this section would always be on top. Then the offset, so I can choose 20 offset, so you could say 20 pixel offset, so that it is not going from top. So let me just show it in like different sections. So for this one, you could do it for anything, by the way. In the motion effect, sticky top, and I'll remove the margin like this, and you could see how it works. It is sticking on top. But if I add, let's say, an offset, it does like 20 offset. And the effect offset is, I'm not sure, I have not used it. And then we have stay in column. So right now you could see that we are using this container, and then there's another container, but when I scroll down, it is actually just going after this container. So what I can do is just click stay in column. So something was bugged out, so I just refreshed the page, and basically let's try stay in column. And you could see when I do stay in column, it stays inside the container that it is placed in. So you could see we have one container and then two container, and then it stays between that container only, and it just stops there. And if you're wondering if you are going very slow, no, I'm just showing you like the common stuff, and then everything would be like this is already shown and stuff. So we showed motion effects. Again, the transform is basically, let's say if I choose this one and then go into transform, I can add some effect like this, and then I can also add like, let's say, 3D effect or 3D transformation like this. There's an offset, so basically change the offset or where you want it to be, and you could sometimes just add some animations to on hover. For example, if I do, let's say, on offset, I want it to go a bit on the left side and a bit on the top side, so like this. So I can just make some animation like this on hover. Again, scale, basically would just scale it. On hover, just flip it, very normal. Transition duration, how long you want it to be. Now this is background, and again this is different with like container backgrounds. So you could see these sections around here are limited, so transform, responsive attributes, custom CSS. This wrapper link, equal height, and display condition, these are not in Elementor. These are something that I'm using like an extra plugins, so I'm not going to show this. But if I go into this heading tab, I have multiple options or more options, and each one have like their own options. But these are the common ones that I'm showing in here, and then in the rest of the widgets I don't need to show you guys because it's already be shown in one widget and everything is like same. So basically you could see just background color. Again, you could add an image, you could add an hover image, hover color like this. So when you hover on it, it is just changing from that color to that color like this. Basically, you know, like this, nothing crazy, normal. Again, borders, very normal. If you want to add, let's say for a widget, a border, you could basically add it from there. Solid 2 pixel, red, and everything same, nothing crazy. And then we can add shadow to just this container or this heading widget. Then we have mask, and for mask, what would be the best option to show you guys? So let's say I add a background, and this is how the mask works. It's now circle, fill, custom. So right now there's like a circle, and then we are actually using that as a mask. And there are multiple options like flower. So you could see there's like flower. Usually you would do this for like images. So if you would use the image widget, you would do that for it. And then these are like different designs. Position, again, like center left, top center, top left, stuff like that. And then repeat or not. So if you wanted to repeat on all direction, if you wanted to repeat on only left, x-axis, if you want to repeat on y. I've never used round and space, so again I'm not sure about that. I'll keep no repeat and then close this. But there's also an option to actually just go into custom and then choose your own image, if you create like a small image or design that you want to use, like a blob or anything, you could just add it, and I don't have it ready, so I will not use it. And then basically you could create any shape and it will show it. Usually we use it for image, we add like a rectangle image and then add a mask on it. Responsiveness, basically you would use it very commonly. So let's say if I want this element to not be shown on tablet and portrait, I can just disable it. If I only want it to be shown on mobile desktop and tablet, I will do it. If I only want it to be shown on mobile devices and not desktop and tablet, I would just hide it. So if I just, right now it's not showing, you could see. So that's where you could actually create responsive design. It is commonly used. Attributes, never used it. It is for coding and all. I'm not much familiar with coding. And then custom CSS, it is these two are like Elementor Pro features, or at least custom CSS I don't know about attribute. And here we can add our custom CSS that you want to do if you know CSS coding. If I select this, go into layout, I can add my CSS ID or CSS class here, and that way I can target it. Then we also have z-index. So you remember I showed you guys about this stuff like this. Right now you could say this is on top of this thing, but let's say I don't want it. I want this one to be on top of everything. I can give it higher z-index like 2, and then I will give this one like lower z-index. So anything that is higher z-index, it would be on top of the lower z-index values. So right now if I just do, you see, it just goes below that because this one has higher z-index than this one. Now the next one is position, and basically it's a way of the position is usually, how can I explain it? It is a CSS property in which that, let's say right now if I do duplicate, it is actually creating a space around here, and I don't want the space to be created. And we don't use position to like actually create elements. We only use it for usually design elements. So let's say if I do absolute, remove the margin, it is gone on the top left because it is set on left and then top, and I can move it down, offset, stuff like that. I can also like drag and drop it, but I've seen it being much more buggier, which is why I only use this one. I can choose it to be on the right side and then bottom side of this container. This is basically positions, and you don't actually use it to create, let's say, a design or anything. We just create, I mean, we do use it to create design, but we don't use it to like, let's say I cannot just drag it and then be like, I wanted to place it around here and then I'm done. It does not work like that, because the way it calculates, it is calculating distance from the left side by 582 pixels, and then it is calculating distance from the bottom, which is 442 pixels. So if I do like bottom and then like this, it is now using 228 pixels around here. But the issue is different screen size have different sizes. So if you do use this, then for example in your screen, it would just, you see, it does not work well right now, because if I'm doing this stuff, it just does not work. Obviously you could do like 50% as stuff like that with percentage, and then maybe it works. Never mind, it does not work. But which is why we only use it for like design elements. You could see it is also said that it is not considered best practice for responsive. But let's say if I want to create a button and I want the button to always be on the bottom right, like this, I can make it be on the bottom right. So no matter which size it is, it will always be at the bottom right, no matter what size, or no matter what screen size it is. This is basically an offset. So yeah, that's normal. Another thing that lots of Elementor people don't know, that you could, if you don't want to do this and if you just make it empty, it will make it centered like this. So right now you could say it is centered. You could say it is centered. I'll just delete the next one like this. And the way this is decided where the center is by the container. So right now if I make this to be at start or make it at the end, it would be decided by this container. So if you make if you want it to be like centered like this, just make this empty, it will be centered. But position absolute is, it is only used for design element, like adding some, let's say like shapes around here or shape around here, just floating stuff around here, stuff like that. Fixed is basically, it's just going to be fixed on the whole site like this. So if you want to create, let's say, the home page, and then you have like call us on this, but this number, or call us on this section, you could actually add it like this, from this one, and then like this, it will always be on that side, and it would always be like, hello, call us on here and there, stuff like that. Let's make it default. CSS ID, CSS class I already showed you guys, but it is usually for custom coding, for custom CSS. Next is grow and shrink, and the way it works is, if I do grow, example, what you could see is that the element starts from here and then ends around here, but the container size is this big. I should remove the shape divider so that it is easier to understand. So this is the container, this to this, but this section is only for this part and this part. So if I want this to grow, I can just click grow and it will just make it be bigger. And usually you use it like this. So this is like an heading. I'll remove this. I'll add, let's say, a text paragraph like this. Let's make it go on top. And then this one, I'll make it grow. So when you create multiple sections, you could add like a text section and then make it grow this section so that our next section is at the bottom always. Or I've also created like another template. The grow section is a bit hard to explain without any example, but I'll just show you a quick thing that I made. If you want to watch this video, you could watch it. It's already on my YouTube. But basically, I've set this to grow to like that size. So whenever we just reduce the size of it, it will automatically just like, if I make this smaller, it will automatically adjust it based on the grids. So if I just, let's say, I just moved this section to the next part, this section will automatically make it be this size rather than staying this size. And that's how grow works. It automatically does is makes it bigger to that size. Shrink, I don't understand it, how it works, because I've never used it. Order, I also am not sure. So it basically means that it will always be at the start, and if I do it, it will always be at the end of this layout, no matter where you place it. I've not used this. I only use grow, but it is also very rare. Align self is basically, again, I've showed you guys that right now we are doing align items, so all of the items are aligned. But if I want to do like align self so that only that thing is aligned, you could do it. And that's all I think for the container. One important thing, wrap. This is very important. So right now we have, let me make it like row horizontal, and by default the wrap is always on. So no wrap is always on for your containers, like this. And then I'll remove it. I'll remove this stuff, and you see, as I duplicate this stuff, it keeps on going from left to right, because by default it is set to no wrap. Even if we have not selected, it is selected to no wrap. But if I do wrap, you see how it is going. So for example, this section was only this size, so it tried to adjust the second section here. And then this section was this big, but we don't have this much space, so it tried to move it on the next size. We don't have this much space, it tried to move it on the next size. If I make this full width, I don't know. Okay, full width also no, because this is like too big for like two of it. So what you can do is, with wrap selected like this, if I select wrap, go in this thing, go into advanced, go into width, and then by default it is full width. Inline, I have never used it, but full width. And let's click custom, and here you could select the width of this section. So let's say I only want this to be like the 40%, and this one I actually want to be, let's say 40. Okay, let's do 30%, or let's do 20%. So this is 20%, this is 30%, sorry, 40, and by default this is 100%. So if I reduce this to much lower size, again you see it is showing on this section. So it tries to just adjust it in one size, but if it gets too big it takes it to the next part. So this one all are 100%, but, and again you see it is 40 40 20, and but if you have like gap element set something, then it will not work because we are actually adding pixels. So if you have gap element like this, then you will actually need to reduce it a bit from all of it and just try to find the right value so that the 20 pixel gap between it is actually adjusted into it. And the best part is if I make this be, let's say, bigger like this, you see it automatically takes it to the next part because this one does not have space around here. And again, remember the grow section. So if I click grow, it will automatically grow it. So if I make this smaller, it is now adjusting around here. But if I make this bigger, it made it to the next part, but it also made it grow to the whatever space was left. If you didn't add space left, it will do the whichever size you have set here and then have the space, and you could keep adding stuff like this. And that is how I made this section. Each section was like this, each section have the same stuff like custom width set by, rather than setting it via this thing, I set it for the containers by doing full width and then choosing like the percentage, and then each one of them grow. So whenever it is gone on the next side, it will just adjust it to the full screen. So that's wrap, and we actually use wrap a lot, especially when someone's like changing the screen size, and if you have like lots of grid items, then you want it to like not be showing like one grid alone or stuff like that. We just, or like have, for example, in small screen we don't want 3 grids, we want 2 grids. So it will always adjust the size based on that. Now that we have seen container, we are actually going to go very fast because it is like very, like again same and same stuff. So let me just delete all of this. So let's start. We will click here. Grid, I have not used it much, not going to show you guys, but basically let's say I add a heading. Let me delete this one, make it like this. I added a heading, just type whatever you want, hello. Then we can choose size, but we don't, I've never used this one, so just like don't care about it. Link, if you want to add a link to it, you could add like your link to whatever your website name is, or google.com or anything. If you click on link option, you could make sure that it is open in new window. So when you click on it, it will open a new tab. This one is dynamic options, and dynamic options is a pro feature, and it basically allows you to add like dynamic content, but this is also something that we will go in future. Then the HTML tag. So if you want this to be h1, you could do h1, and then basically h1 is, this is for SEO practices. I'll make it p, why not? Align, where you want it to be aligned. This is different ones. This is not going to be present in your Elementor. Color, again, size option, which font you want, how much weight you want, thin, extra thin, transform, if you want it to all be capital, if you want to capitalize it. So if I just type hello YouTube, it will automatically capitalize the first letter of everyone. Normal, by default it is normal, capitalize, lowercase. Style, italics and obliques. I don't know what oblique is, never used that. So italics and normal. And if you want to make it bold, then it is in the weight section. Then there's basically decoration, so underline, overline, line through, and then none. Line height is basically hello YouTube, how much the line, second line. You could see that I cannot add enter in it in heading because the way it works is the heading tab actually does not use like what you see, what you get editor, but it uses like HTML stuff. But again, you don't need to usually use like break tags and all in here. But if you want to have let's say a break, then you could obviously do like br tag and then it will add it to the next tab. You cannot do enter in this heading widget. You could do it in any other widget, but there are some places where you could add title which require you to use like some HTML like this, like br or stuff. And line height is basically difference between like the lines height. Letter spacing, everybody knows. Word spacing, everybody knows. Let's make it to default. And one of the cool thing is global styles. So if I click on it, you could see I have some styles around here, and then I can just click here, can make it to this stuff. And basically you could also create new colors. So let's say I do, let's say white. So I'll just do like white and then click on plus and then type pure white, create, and then we have actually created something like a color swatch. So whenever you like create different element, and if you have like specific color, you could go there and just choose it. But there's one more thing that you could do is wherever you have selected this, you could change the color of your whole site wherever this color is used. I'll show it soon. Maybe I should just show you guys while, okay, I'll show you in like 2 minutes. But before that, you could also do for the typography. So you could add like text and then again plus, create new font, and then it would be shown around here. Pretty normal. Text stroke, if you want to have like these strokes, and that's normal. Text shadow, again if you want to add shadow, how much blur you want, if you don't want any blur, pretty normal. Blend modes, so how you want the text to blend, basically the Photoshop if you have done Photoshop or any other graphics one, then you would understand blend modes. But right now this, I don't think I can explain it in small time. We have already done margin, padding, width, align, order, size, position, z index, we have done that. Motion effects, done that. Transform, we have done that. Background, I've showed you guys. Border, mask, responsive, attributes, and custom CSS, we have shown that. But now let me show you guys this one, which is like this global styles. So when you have done added like global styles, and then let's say you have a feature section, something like this. So let's say you have something like this, which have like obviously not different colors, but rather having like same text around here, same font, same text, same color, and then having something like features with like same colors in the background. Let's say you have green, 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 green like this. If you make it with global styling, what you could do is, let me try with accent so that you could see accent. So right now we both of this have like green. So if I have to actually just, let's say, if I can just, make it bigger like this. So so if I have to change the color of both of this, I will have to manually do for this one, then go into this and manually do it for this one. And if you have like 6, 7, 8 features or like multiple pages with stuff like that, it would be very overwhelming. So if you have used the global styling, you could go into settings, or was it not settings? Okay, it was in here. So you click here and click on site settings. And if you go into global colors, you could see all of this stuff. This is new thing that is shown recently. I am not much familiar with it, but you could also basically just, if you have this enabled, it will be shown to you, and you can quickly just change the styling and all from here too. But let me just disable this one, style guide preview, and that way you could see the page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change the color of my accent, and then you could see it is changing for both of this. So I don't have to manually go on each and everything to change it. So especially if you have like lots of buttons, differently placed buttons on all over your site. It's not just for this page, it's for every single page on your site where you have used this global styling. You could change it however you want. Same with the font, so I'll just discard it for now. Same for the font. That's what is done. I don't use this all, but basically here you could choose like the H1 typography and all, which would be like by default. I don't use it much commonly from here, but basically whenever you choose H1, it will automatically choose this typography, this color and stuff. It can improve your speed a lot. Same with button. So when you use the button widget, by default it has like the default one, which I'll show you soon. But if you want to have like a specific design, always when you drag it, then you could make it here. Images, I'm not sure. Okay, images and all same, like form fields. Again, I have not used this one commonly, but these are just something that is like, if you change anything around here, it will be the default thing. So whenever you drag a widget from, like drag from left panel to here, that would be the default styling that would come with. Site identity, like the site logo and all, it is controlled by what you call your theme also. So you could also add, let's say, a color, background color for the whole site. Layout, again, this is controlled by theme and what you call. Also, if you're using only Elementor, then you could also obviously make it like this. But you see, also by default we have 1140 in box width, but you could increase it. I don't use it much commonly. I might use it in future. This is basically like page transition. So whenever you like, so by default we have like one color. Custom CSS for the whole site. Again, I use my just appearance themes additional customizer. WooCommerce, again, I don't really use this one, but it is basically just choosing which your pages are. So if you're actually using Elementor to build your WooCommerce pages, you will have to make sure it is selecting the right pages. Additional settings, what this is basically in settings, integration, advanced features. We have already seen that. Commonly you would be using this one and these four ones, and this one is usually done by your theme. But if you're using just like Elementor, then obviously you could be using this one. Global fonts and global color is usually what I use. So you could see we can just do that and quickly have the consistency and don't have to like copy paste the colors every time we use it. Let's add image. Again, just very normal stuff. Select, edit the image, what size image you want. If you want it to be thumbnail, if you want it to be bigger one, if you want it to be full size, you could also add custom stuff, just like 300 by 300. Apply. It would crop it to 300 by 300. Caption, so you could add a custom caption or attachment caption, basically this caption around here. So if I add, let's say, custom caption, you could see that there's a text below it. Link, if you want to add a link, so if you add media file, whenever people click on it, it will just open this light box. And then if you want to add like a custom link, you could just click custom URL, and when you click on it, it takes you to that page. Everything's same. You could also add dynamic stuff. Let's go to style, and here you could choose the width. So what the width should be for the percentage, but you could see that even when you're changing the width, the actual widget is this big. So the actual widget is this big, only the image size inside it is changing. So if let's go into background, and then here I make it, let's say, red. You could see that the actual widget is this big, but the image is changing. But if I go into, let's say, here and then do the changes, you could see that it is actually changing the whole widget like this. So it just comes down to whichever you want it to be. So max width we have height, and you could see it just compresses it weirdly. But here we can choose like different ones. So we can choose cover, contain, and then multiple options that you want to. I rarely change the height, but if you want to, you can simply go. Now there's something which is like hover. So on normal we have one opacity, on 0 or like 0.5, and then make it 0.3. You could see we can just make it go like this, or we could also do it so when you hover it just turns into full opacity. CSS filter, basically we can add filter like blur, we can change the brightness, we can change the contrast, we can change the saturation, and we can change the hue. This is very normal, which is basically like adding borders and stuff, like 25 like this, adding border 20 like this. Pretty normal, we have already done it. Box shadow, we have already done it. And then if you have selected the caption section, then you will also have this panel where you could choose where the caption should be shown, like this. Background color for the caption, something like this. You could also make the background color be transparent like this. So lots of options, normal ones, and then spacing. Text editor, we just type the text, and here you could actually add enter and stuff like this. It is what you see and what you get editor. You could also double click to get like more options, or you could basically edit it in this panel too. Bold, italics, if you want to add link to something, then you could always add a link like this. If you want to change the color, this is Elementor tutorial, so I'm not going to go into like, this is WordPress editor, normal basic editor, so I'm not going to go into details of it, but basically you could choose like colors and stuff. Okay, there we go, it does work. You can choose your custom color, horizontal line, all of these options that are present. And if you want to do some HTML work, then you will need to click on text, and basically this is a visual editor and this is an HTML editor, so you could use both together. There's no worries with that. You could add like a short code or some embed code like this. So if I go and let's say if I want to add an embedding code, I can always just add it in the text editor. You cannot add it in the visual editor. Visual editor is what you see, what you get, and text is where the codes and all exist. So right now you could see I added here, but if I let's say copy it around here, it will just add it normally. Let me add the text editor again. Drop cap is basically like the first letter being the bigger one. We can add multiple columns, so if it gets like bigger, it will have like multiple columns, 2, 3 like this. I don't use that commonly, but if you want to, surely you can do it. Let's see, everything's same, nothing different around here. I don't think anything's different around here. Nothing different around here. So text quickly. Video, we can add a video around here, whichever you want. YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, or self-hosted, and then just choose the video from here which you have self-hosted. Start time, where you want it to start, end, autoplay, if it should start automatically, if it should even start on mobile. Player controls, where is it? Remove the player controls like this. It removes the player controls. We can mute it. Play on mobile, we can loop it. Modest branding, so let me remove the autoplay. I think the modest branding only works with background overlay, I guess. I don't quite remember what it does. Privacy mode, if you want to add a no cookie stuff on YouTube before it starts. Lazy load, always do it. Lazy load is basically your video would not be, this widget would not load unless someone like scrolls to that section. So it like improves the speed of your website. Then we have image overlay, and usually if you don't want to have your YouTube stuff shown on that, you could do that like this, and then you could add an image. If you don't want play icon, obviously if you want, so if I click on it, it basically, you see it plays, but if I let's say to lightbox, it will open a pop-up like this. Image resolution normal, we can add icons, so which icon you want around here, just click here and then add any icon you want and it will just change it to that icon. You could also make it not have any play icon. Not sure what modest branding does. This is the aspect ratio of the video, so 3:2, 4:3, 16:9, which is full HD. CSS filter, if you wish to add. Image overlay, again the button size, which color the play icon is. If you want a shadow for the light box, so basically this light box color, so you could add a background color. if you don't want to have, let's say, transparency, or if you want to have full transparency. I don't know what UI color is. It basically is for this color, and when you hover on it, it can, let's say, turn into blue. So that's all. And we can also do like fade in animation. So when you do this, it fades in. So that's one thing. Nothing crazy. Everything in advance, we have already done it. Button, you will be using this a lot, and you could see that when I added it manually, it added the default one, which is like gray and all. But if you had done some changes in the site editing, then when you do drag it in, it would have that style. So you don't have to always, make the design like if you have like specific design or consistency, then you could just make it in the global styling for this button, and when you drag, it will have that color. So there's type. I don't really understand how this type works, if there is anything different or not, but I'll just keep it default. Yeah, you could type like click me or something, add the link, open in link, alignment of the button, size. Again, doesn't really matter for me. I just keep it normal. We will be using another way to change it. If you want to add a icon, so something like this, we can add icon spacing, and we will make it be after. We can add a button ID, so that if you wish to add some unique ID to it. Then in the style tab, we have the typography, everything same, whichever you want, whichever the text typography that you want. And the icon size is also handled by this thing. Text color, pretty normal, understandable. Background, this is where it's like where you would usually be working on background color and all. Right now we have this way, but let's say I wanted to make it transparent, then I'll add a solid of 2 width, and then I make it black, or let's do white, and then I made like 10 pixels of border, and then this is how it looks. But if I just remove the padding in here, I can basically just choose how the design of it looks. So 20 and 20. So this is how it works. But when I hover on it, I want it to have like nice animation. So what you could do is, on hover, I can choose like a different color. So let's say I choose it to be black color on hover. The background could be black like this, and then you could also make the border color be black like this, or at least the text color white, something like this. And then hover animations, basically so many multiple animations that you could do. Pulse grow, I'm not going to go in each of this one, but basically the one that I usually use is float. Basically it just floats it a bit above like this, or sync, it makes it go below. A skew forward, there is also like buzz like this, so it will keep buzzing. And then which one do I use more commonly? Was it hang? Yeah, like this, hang, like this. And another way to do it is basically the transform way. I've showed it like here. If you add like different transform, you could just make it float like this. So let's make it default if you want to have like specific control over it. So this is all very normal. Box shadow, again very normal. If you want to add shadow, just make the blur like this if you want to, and then you could have like nice shadowy effect. So you see, nice button. Everything else is different, or sorry, same in the advanced panel. And you could say this one has like its own background section like this. So if I make the align center and add like 20 padding to it, it has like its own different padding, and then this one has its own different padding. Next is divider. It's basically what it does. If you have like a heading, and then if you want to add like a nice line between it, you could add divider. Let me make the weight like 5, so that it is visible, and then there's the gap, so you could make this go 0, and then obviously use the margin and all to have like more control. So you want to have only like spacing between bottom. Color like this. Weight is basically how thick the line should be, and then there's so many options around here. like dot, curly. You could change the size like by width. If you want to have like specific pixel length, then obviously you could do that. Alignment where it should be. If you want to add a what you call icon in the middle, you could do that, and then you would get another option for your icon. Choose the size of it, and then you see this is how you can make more stuff. Spacing, rotate, and where the icon should be. And there's like stacked wave, so let me just make this black. And then there's framed wave, and obviously you could change, let's say, border width, stuff like that, border radius to make it like circle. Same with this stuff. And yeah, that's all for the divider. Spacer, usually you would not use this. It basically adds like space between two elements. If you are using like this padding and all, I'm not sure why you need this. Google Maps, again, you just add any Google map around here. It will show the map location. There's like how much zoom you want, then the height of the whole map. Go into style, and then that's all we have. So if you want to do, let's say, style, let's say saturation off on hover, or actually here we will make the saturation like this, and on hover it changes to like, I guess, normal one, which was how much, 100. And then let's say add like 0.5 seconds. So now when I hover on it, it's black and white, and then when I hover, it is basically full color. My throat is starting to give up. We are going to go very fast. Icon, basically click on it, and then you could have your own icons. You could also upload SVG by clicking on upload, and then obviously you could have your own icons here. And you would have like a warning, because in SVG it is possible to hide virus, which is why it will give like a pop-up saying that, are you sure you want to add SVG? Make sure you use like a trusted stuff, and you're good. Again, link, stacked, frame, square, circle, frame, alignment, any icon you want. Primary color, which is the main color. Secondary color, which is the background color. On hover, we want it to be like this. Another thing that you could do is make this default like this, so that there's no framing. Let's say make it like 50 pixels wide, or sorry, 50 size. And then go into backgrounds, and then go into this stuff like this, and then make this one, I guess, black color. So on hover it is like this, and then add padding, and then you could actually have more control over the borders and stuff. So like 25. So we have made the same stuff, but we now have like more control. Let's see if there's an option to actually just do it without this stuff, without going like this deep. So like on stacked, we actually have border radius, so we don't even need to do what I did. So yeah, but if you want to, you could do it if you want like more control over it, but basically it's the same thing. We don't have a border. Okay, actually we don't have the stuff that I wish to have, which is the border like this. So yeah, we actually need to use it if you want like more control and not use this tagged option like this, 20, and then you get like more control over it. So if you want to change like border color and all, you could do it. Or if you just want to have like the background color change. So right now we can change the border color on hover. We can also change the background color on hover, and we can also change the icon color on hover. So we get 3 options rather than just one. And then you could do it for every widget. Okay, if you don't have the option in here, just go into the advanced panel, and you would have like in one universal for that stuff. Now this is pro, but let me just hide it. I'll show the pro ones later. Image box, very simple. We add image, we add the heading. Again, we cannot just add enter in here. If you want to like add break, then add br and it will add break. Lorem ipsum, again, you cannot just like add enter and then type. You will need to do like break tag or use HTML. Very easy. HTML is very easy. You don't even need to learn it. Just Google it and you will find the result. Title tag. So what the title tag should be, if you want to do SEO and stuff, then you could choose it. You could choose the image. If you want the image position to be on the left, right, top, if the section should be in the center, if it should be at the bottom, alignment for it, the image spacing, how much space it should be, how much width this should be, the image should be, border radius, hover animation for this one, CSS filter, opacity on hover, and this one we have already done it. I'm not showing it for everyone. So the spacing between the title and the content, color for the heading, color for this section, and we get these options. But sometimes, let's say if you don't want to have this one and only want to have image and this stuff, you could do is you could just delete this stuff, what you call the content. I'll make this in like one heading so that it is easier to understand. You can say it is not in center, because if we go into content, yes, there's the spacing, and just make it 0. So now we will have an image and a heading with no content. So if you add content, it would just make it go above, but if you don't, you could do it for this one. Usually you would not use with image, but sometimes, let's say if you want to just showcase your feature, then you and have a heading, you could do it quicker this way rather than making it with an container. And it is same with icon box. Everything is same. I'm not going to show you this one, except we just have an icon option with the hover. Nothing different, just instead of image we have icon. This is very normal. You just click image carousel, choose whichever you want, create new gallery, go into full, and let's say slides to show. So I only want to show 2 slides at a time, and when I do this stuff, I only want it to, okay, I want it to move like 2 slides when I scroll. So you see it moving 2. Image stretch I don't like. If you want to show arrows, which is this one, and if you want to show dots, and if you want to show just arrows, show just dots, or show nothing, change the previous icon around here by simply clicking in icon library and choosing whichever you want. Link, if you do custom URL, it will add a URL to all of them together, which is a bit of something that Elementor should actually improve on, but they haven't. Media file is basically when you click on it, it will open that image. Caption, again we have done it if you want to show caption here. Next is lazy load. So basically it will not load the image unless it is in viewport, which is good to do. Autoplay, if you keep it on, every 500 seconds, or which is 500 milliseconds, which is like 5 seconds, it will just automatically scroll. Animation speed, how fast you want it to scroll. So it will take 2 seconds to scroll like this. Direction left, right, if you want it to loop. If you want to pause on interaction, so when someone clicks on it, it will like not autoplay, it will stop the autoplay when someone clicks on it. When someone hovers on it, so whenever someone puts their mouse on this carousel, it will just stop it. Autoplay, you could just disable it, and that's one thing that you could do. In the style tab, we can choose the icon stuff, and if you want to choose it to be outside or inside, choose the color. Pagination, if you want the pagination to be inside or outside, again color. And then the spacing, we will do custom spacing, so that there's like 20 pixel spacing between each of these sections. Vertical align, I have, so if there were like different size of images, right now these are like same sizes, but let's say if this one was this size and the second one was only half, if I would have done center, this one would have been in the middle. Border radius and all, again each one would have border and stuff, nothing crazy. But this is what we do in the carousel. Basic gallery, again we will choose the images and it will just add the gallery images. Yeah, there's no masonry effect. Masonry effect is only in pro version. I'll show you soon, which is why it's called like basic gallery only. It basically adds like images in like a grid fashion. Icon list, choose an icon that you want, add the text that you want around here. We can add link to each of this one if you want it to be inline, so basically in one line, or we want it to be like one after another. We can add item, we can duplicate item, we can just change it. Apply link on full width or just inline. Again, not sure how this works, but I guess I never tried it, so don't know. Space between the items, the alignment of the items. Divider if you want to add like borders in this one, and then we can choose the weight and width and stuff. Icons color like this, if you want the icon to be bigger, and then the gap between the icons and this stuff. So there's like a small container inside it, and then we can choose where we want the alignment to be. You can also set it to be top, bottom, or center. Right now it's the same size, so it's not visible much. And we can also change the vertical position a bit. Never use this option. So text is this one. All of these are like normal options. So on hover we will just be like pretty easy. I'm not going into advanced because it's like advanced tab is same for everything. Counter is basically it will count till whichever number it is. It's good to create like social proof, like I don't know if we have my stuff in here. So basically starting number is 0. We can choose from where it starts. We'll start from 10. Number prefix is, let's say, rupees or like dollar, like this. Or if you want to add like customers or like plus something, usually we add like plus 100 plus. Separator if you want to add dot, and basically it's like the separator around here, which is like based on the 1000 separator. The title, customers served, something like this, and then we get this nice effect. If I want to showcase you, okay, let's showcase this design. Then if I scroll down, you could see it shows 7+ year experience and this one, so you could use it that way. Again, styling is pretty normal. Text, all the number is done here, the typography text, and then title is done here. Not going into details because it's very like repetitive stuff. Progress bar is, usually I don't use this, but you sometimes use like Photoshop skills, something like this, but it does not make sense. Like 60%, 70%, I've already made a video on my Instagram and stuff that you shouldn't use like percentage because it doesn't make sense. Because obviously it does not make sense how much percentage, like what is the meaning of like 50% good in Photoshop stuff and all. Title HTML tag, I don't know what this does. Okay, this one basically just chooses color, so it does not matter how much percentage you want it to be. The inside text, you could keep it empty. Color of the back first, this what is this called, this progress bar, and then the background color. Make the height of it, you want to add some border to it. Inner text which was inside that, but on, and also this one, you can choose it, change the font of it. Title style, which is this one. And do we not have option before? It's between this one, I guess. We don't seem to have option to like have separation between this, but what we can actually do is we can go into title typography and just add like line height, and that should do. You could see it added line height, but it also added on top, which is like a bit annoying. So that's one way you can add it. So that's one option for progress bar. Testimonial, Basically you could add the content which is here, image which is here, the title name which is here, and then title which is here. I'm not showing this one because I rarely use this testimonial widget. I would rather just create like, I add like my own container and then add my own image and then create my own designs for this one, because I don't like how this looks. There's aside and top, so there's two difference. Alignment, again not much difference. Link option, and then the styling option, basically if you want it to be square or not. Image resolution, basically just size. Content color, name, title. Again we are going speed because this is like very basic and common stuff. So let's go social icons. Whenever you add your social icons, basically just click enter and then choose whichever social icon you want. Add the link to it, and you could choose like custom color. So if I want to have like specific custom color for this one, I can click custom and then choose my specific color that I want, or before that, or we can basically go into style and then do it for everything. So if I go into all of this stuff, it will just, you know, do it for everything like this, except the one that we have chosen custom color to. If I do official, again all of it just turns to that. This is same, like square, rounded. We can obviously just, you know, change the border radius to 0 and we will not have that roundedness. Size, padding, basically padding is padding between this icon and this square. So how much space between you want to have, like between the small image or icon and then this one, spacing, how much you want. Rows gap, so like this, if you want to have like multiple rows. On hover, we can make it go like different colors like this, or just, you know, animations. Pretty normal. All of the settings are present there. I'm getting a bit it's been 2 hours while I'm recording. Social icons, alert, never used it. This is an alert, so I don't see why this is even present, but again you could just use your text and then create it manually. SoundCloud, never used it. Shortcode, basically whenever you have a shortcode you could add it, and we can actually use Elementor. We can create like templates in Elementor like this. If I go into my saved templates, and remember that this option is only in Elementor Pro, this shortcode option. The shortcode option would not be present when you go into saved elements, but you could actually use a free plugin called Anywhere Elementor, and it adds this option for shortcodes, but it will be present in a different section around here. And basically if I just copy this shortcode here, you see it just adds that page inside it, or any other shortcode that you want. So there's HTML, basically you could add your HTML. If you want to add CSS, you could type style. If you want to add JavaScript, you could type script and then type your script in here. Sidebar, never used it, but basically you could show like sidebar which you have made. So if I have like my WooCommerce sidebar, I can show it around here. Never used it. I don't know where you would use it. Read more, not sure what this does. Okay, I'll be honest, it says read more. I don't know how to use it, never used it. Ratings, basically adds like 5-star or any other thing that you could make. So rating scale is like from 5, the rating should be like 3, like this. So it is 3 out of 5. You could choose any icon that you want. It does not have to be just this stuff. Let's make this like bigger spacing, and then we could do like color for the marked ones, and this one we can also do like point, so like 0.5, and we can use any other icon. We don't actually have to use this one. So you could have like on hero page, you could just show your rating or whatever you have gotten. Tabs, remember I said to enable nested tabs, and what it does is, in the new nested tabs we can actually create it allows us to have like this option to create like more sections inside it. Before that it was not like that, but basically it is a bit laggier though. the website does load fast, but when you are actually working in the backend, if you do like even a small change, you might sometimes need to like wait for 2 actual minutes, and I'm not sure why that happens. It only happens when you have too much content in it, but if it's only little, it does not matter. So let's say if I add like a heading in the tab 2, I can just basically add a text editor like this. So in the tab 1 we have this one, tab 2 we have this one, and we can have like a feature list. So if I go into my start justify like this and then make it like this, we could have like, this is what we provide. We provide SEO building, we provide this stuff, we provide this stuff, and then have like different images and all based on the text. So there's an option to add icon around here, and then also option to add CSS ID. We can delete stuff, we can duplicate stuff, justify. So this is not much interesting. So width, how big you want this to be. Align title, again this one, inside ones. Additional option, so where the mobile should start. And again, there's one issue that when you go into mobile, you will not actually see tabs. It will actually just show, well, it's a bit problematic. I don't know if we can see it in, there's already a video on how to do it. I haven't made it, but someone else has made it. So you could say this is what it does. We don't want it to be like this. We want the tab to be on top, right? We don't want the first content to be shown and then it turn into like this FAQ type section. So there is actually a video in which they show how you can use like a custom CSS to make it be on top for a mobile version. You can just change the layout and all. Go to styles, gap between tabs, distance from content, so how much distance you want. We have active color, so whichever active is, and then on hover, this is how it looks. All of these settings we have already shown. We are just basically just choosing what's the active color and then hover color. Title we have shown. Again, icon position, if we add icon, and then the content, very normal stuff. And also the best part is you could actually just use like a shortcode inside it if you want to just add like a different page completely. Just remember it is a bit buggier. Text path, I have not used it, but let me just see. So we have wave, we can add like custom SVG. I have not used it, so I don't know, but basically you could add your text on a curve path. I'm not going to go into details because I don't know, never used it. I would basically just use Photoshop or any other graphic editing software and just make it there rather than doing it in that stuff. Accordion, let's open it, and basically you see it's all same, nothing crazy. If you wanted to, where the position of this item should be, where this should be, and it's basically just good for FAQ when you're doing stuff like this. Very normal FAQ schema. I don't know what that means. Okay, so it will basically tell Google that it is FAQ. Okay. Interaction, first expanded or all collapse. So everything would be open by default. All collapse. Collapse means closed, right? Okay, all of them would be closed. But if you want to have like first one open, just click first expanded, and then the first one would be expanded. All of the settings are like very same, so I'm not getting into details. All of them are same. So these are like PayPal buttons. These are, I believe, only for pro ones. I don't even know if this is from Elementor or not, but basically we can just add a PayPal button. I don't know if this is from Elementor Pro or Elementor Free. I'm not sure how this works either. Now what we have done is we have seen general ones, and there's some site ones that we can use, but again, if this is for theme builder one, which I'll show you sooner. So let's not see this right now. There is single post one, so this is also for future in this video. This one is also for WooCommerce. You will not see this one where it says EA. It's like different plugin, but you will see this ones. This one is different plugin, different plugin, different plugin, and then we have some WordPress widgets, which are the default ones. So right now I've shown you every free version, I think, but let's see the paid versions or the pro versions or pro widgets. So the loop grid, let me just add it. And the way loop grid works is basically you can create anything in this one. So if I go into my Elementor widget that I've made, you see it basically creates a dynamic loop, and this is only available for pro version, and it can be used to create like a grid layout with your specific design styles for like products or posts, like WooCommerce products or like blog post. Items per page, we can do masonry. Masonry basically means that it will not make it all like the same size, but if anything is different size, it will just adjust it based on that. Equal height will make it everything equal. Query is where we choose like if we want to show like only some kind of post. So let's say if I do post, go into terms, and then in that terms I choose let's say category, and then I can choose which category what I want. So let me just choose, let's say, website. So you could see categories website tutorial, so it will only show for that category and not for every single one that I've made. Date, how you want it to sort, so it will only show like custom or like only show for the last 24 hours or a week. Order by which way you want, order by ascending, ignore sticky post, I'm not sure what that does. Pagination, right now we have 6 items per page. So if I do pagination and add, let's say, numbers, you'd see for the next page it shows 2, and then we could have previous, next, or we could have numbers or load on click, something like this. It will say load more. And then infinite scroll is basically as soon as you scroll, it will automatically keep loading. It is not going to show on the preview page, but it will show on the live page. So when you scroll, it will automatically keep loading. So that's infinite scroll. Usually, okay, there we go. And we can also type page reload or Ajax. The difference is if we do page reload, full page would load, or if we do Ajax, if I click on 2, you could see only this section would load. We are on preview page, so it was not going to be like much visible. But when you do Ajax, only this section will dynamically change. But if you do page reload, then a whole page would reload, like it will start spinning around here, and then it would go to the next page. Auto scroll, I don't know what that does, so let's ignore that. We can add this message if I guess nothing is shown, but basically usually it's used for when someone does a search and nothing is shown. Style is basically only for pagination and gap between columns. Rows, nothing found message when it will be shown. But how do you make this loop grid? The way you make it is by going into template, going into theme builder, and then you go into loop items here, or you just basically add new and then choose like loop items, and then you make it there. Obviously you could make it here if I have this like empty, it gives an option to create here. It's very buggy if you do it from here. Just go from the theme builder, make here, and basically let me show you what I've made. So you could see I have added an image, but what I've done is can I remove this one? Okay, no, I cannot. But what I've done is I've used something called featured image. So just drag it here, and this is for dynamic content. So basically it uses it does not use like a specific item, but it uses like based on. So if I add this loop grid, you could see that whenever there's a different post, it would use that featured image around here. And the way you could add it is using the featured one, or basically using the image one, and then click on this option, dynamic tag, and then choose featured image like this. So it will automatically choose whichever the featured image is. If I go into settings, preview settings, you could choose which page you want to like preview. So if you want to show this post, and then which one you want to, if you want to have like specific post that you want to wave and not like any wave, you could actually just type here and you could do it in the preview. Now this one is something that I'm working on, so just ignore this too. So this is something that is we have already used called heading, and then all we are doing is using our post title like this, and it will automatically do post title. We are doing post except for here, and then we have lots of option for dynamic. So we have post content, title, except, post info, and anything that is allowed dynamically, we can use that. We can also add dynamic link. And if you use ACF, which is like a other plugin, you could actually create your own links and stuff around here, or add like an extra field. And basically just, if we go into this one, we can choose the preview settings, how big the stuff this is going to be. This one does not affect how it would look around here. How it looks around here is affected by this options, this style, but the layout and all is affected from here. So you could see this, there's query, so only for posts or only for products, and whatever you do, it will be just shown around here. Now one thing I totally forgot to explain to you guys, that if you go into responsive mode like this, and here we can actually just go down. Let me just add it a heading around here. If I go around here, and then you could see wherever this option is, it actually can help you to just change the what you call responsiveness. So for example, I set it to center around here, and by default it is on the left align for the PC one, but if I want to have it in the center for my tablet one, I can do it, and for the mobile one I can just choose that and then do like this, and it will just basically be like here for the mobile version. And wherever you see these icons, for example size, we can choose line height, letter spacing, word spacing. We could do different sizes for different devices, and you will need to do it because you have to make responsive site again. But wherever there is no icon like this, it is universal, so all three devices would be using this size or this link. We cannot add like 3 different link for like 3 different stuff. So wherever this is present, you would basically just click on it and then do the changes, bam bam bam, and then we will do here and then do changes, bam bam bam. Pretty easy. And then if you want to add, let's say just add like 2 different section, if you want to have 2 different link, and then make it responsive for, so like I will make this one not show for like tablet and desktop and only make it show for mobile, and that way you could have 2 different links. Next is loop carousel. Everything same, I'm not going into it, except that we have carousel options here, and we can make it go left to right, pause on our offset slides. Offset is basically like it will show the next slides preview around here, so half slide will be shown here. So here you can see if I choose right, it is not visible on the preview page, it has to be visible on this page. But basically, let's say I have a grid around here, then second image around here, third image around here, it would show a bit of the fourth image like this, like 1/4 of that image. If I choose right, if I do both, it would show like the first image here and the right image here. It would just give a glimpse of it so that people know that we have something around there. Everything same, just like every other thing. Now we have option of showing our post. So rather than creating a loop builder, we can basically just use the pre-built one. We could add masonry effect, image position if it should be on the left side, and it just looks weird because we have done like left side. Image ratio, so let's do first for top one. So image ratio, how much the ratio should be, like 1:2, 3:4, stuff like that. Image width, how big the image should be, I'll just keep it 100. Title tag, so this title, what HTML tag should be, except, which is how big this text should be. If you have custom except set, then make sure this is enabled. Read more text, which is like read more button, you can disable it obviously. Automatically align buttons, not sure what this does. I think it will automatically make all of this read more in one line. So like this, you see right now it is on the same, it is all parallel, if that's the right word. Then we have query. I've already shown you. If you want to a specific one, you could show it. If you don't want to show all of it. Pagination, how you want it to be, showing the numbers. And this is when you don't want to do loop builder, but again, loop builder gives you much more option rather than having to rely on the specific designs that they have made. So you could say it has 3 options, but with loop builder you can basically create your own style. Style is basically going to be same everywhere. I know that, I've used it, but I don't use the post one. And if you don't have Elementor Pro with post grid, I would just suggest getting like premium add-on or Elementor add-on, which is the free version, and then use their post widget, because the post widget from Elementor is like worse, it's bad. Portfolio widget, again, it just shows the blog post like this. Could show pages, landing page, products and all. Again, not used, never used it. If you want to add a filter bar, you could add it. And then on filter bar, let's say if I make it like categories, then it would just make it like based on categories. So like this. So that's one thing. I'm just not going to show portfolio. I don't think people even use it that much. So gallery, only one thing is different. We can add like a masonry effect in this one rather than just having grid ones. So let me show what masonry means. So right now I will create this grid. And you can see right now we all have like equal images. This is what we get by default in the basic gallery, which is the free version. But if I do like masonry, you could see this adjust based on the size. Overlay, again, it will just add an overlay. I don't know. Okay, it is, I guess we have to add an overlay around here. Yep, we have to add an overlay. So when you only on hover like this, again border width and stuff, there's not much options in here. Again, I don't use this one a lot, the masonry gallery, but that's all you can do in this one. You could choose how many columns you want and how much spacing you want. That's all, not much. If you want a good option for gallery, you can use premium add-ons for Elementor. The free version, their gallery is much better. I have used it for my portfolio on my DMmotionarts site. Then we have form option. So basically Elementor Pro has option of form. So I add new form, we can add name and then choose whatever we want. I'm not going in every single detail, but basically we can create any type of form. Advanced one gives you option to add like ID and stuff, message. Input button, which is small. Labels, if you want to show the labels. Button option is, this is small. And the way, there's one more thing I should show, that this column width. So if I make it like 40% and then make this one 60%, we can have it like name, email, and rather than having like one below another. There's like lots of option, reCAPTCHA, rows, how much big you want this to be, if you want it to be required or not. Button, then we have action after submit. So there's collect submission and then email, and basically collect submissions can be found in our backend. So here we can check all our submissions or all our messages that was sent. So we can just wave it, it will just check it here, but you also get an email, but you can also check it here. So we can also add like email to. So if you want to email it to multiple people, email to, and then there's like Discord stuff. Again, I have not used all of this. There's so many options in it, so just make sure to go into details. But collect submission and then email wherever your email is, reply to steps. If you want to do like a multi-step one, I have never created multi-step form, so I'm not sure how to do it, but I believe you can make it in here. So here, if you choose step, you could actually create like multi-step stuff, and I've never used it, so I'm not going to explain you how to do it. And then in the settings, we have the column gap, row gap, label spacing. We are not even using label. HTML field, not sure what that does, but field is basically this stuff. So if I add, let's say 5, we can add a border to this field. If you want to have like padding, curve, then we can add border radius, typography and all. Buttons again, 20. We can add like padding to the button. We can also make it like smaller one. We don't always have to have these big ones. Just go into buttons and then choose the type of button that you want. So let's select 30%, and then we can actually just work on it from here. Select text padding, border radius, make it like 50, stuff like that. Messages which is shown around here, so your message has been sent, please fill off this form, this page is required, you could change here. And steps, never used it, so not sure. Login button basically creates like a login form, which is the default one. Never used it. Not going to show you how to do it because again, never used it. I'm only going to show which is like commonly used. Again, slides and option, this is also something that is never used because you can add it like stuff, obviously. But if you use something like the loop carousel, you can basically do it in a much better way where you have much more control rather than going around here and then adding stuff. So I'm not going to show you how you can do this or what there is, because there is like very limited stuff. You could add like title, we can do like this description, and that's all. That's not much stuff you can do. So just use the loop carousel, the new one, and then you get more options to make, not loop carousel, just basic carousel. So if you go into carousel like this, there's loop carousel and then there is another carousel, and basically if I drag it, you can see if I just choose like slide to display and then slide to scroll, I can basically create it here nicely and then have more control over it than using that older version of slides. WordPress menu basically shows your menu, which is set like on top. This menu is just basically shown. This one is usually when you are using in template builder. So if you go into your template builder, there you could create your header with it. So if you go into template and then theme builder, in the header panel, you will usually be using this one. And again, we have like vertical header or a drop down header, which is this one. Then we have alignment where we want it to be. Pointer, basically when you hover on it, what you want to see. So right now I've chosen overline, so there's a line on top. Animation, I don't know what drop in drop out does, so let's see. So animation for this pointer. Sub menu indicator, so if you have like menu inside menu, then it would just show like arrow around here, and then when you go into this, it would just do the drop down with this. This icon would show that there is more options. Full width basically makes it full width, and I've seen that you usually have to use this option because else it just have like weird issues for mobile version. So text aside, text align, this is for mobile drop down, by the way. Mobile, I don't use this Elementors, this one, it's very buggy, I think. Not buggy, but there's like limited options. So if I go here and then click right now, you could see Right now it is not working well, but if I click on full width, it is actually going to do this stuff. So basically it just moves everything below. So we don't like to do that. We actually don't want to move anything. So make sure full width is on for mobile menu. Text aside, text center like this. Toggle button, I don't think we can control the toggle button. And toggle align where you want the align button to be. Like this. That's all, I guess. Here you could choose the menu that you want to use. This is, and these are just basic styling, so like pointer width, horizontal padding and stuff, drop down color and all. Very default one which I've already shown you. Not going to go into details. Animated headline, so you see nice text effect, and then you could add like multiple stuff. So curly, underline, double, X, cool animations behind it. And you could actually make it manually too by actually creating those animations with Lottie animations and placing it behind the heading. But you see, we can do the before text, we could do highlighted text wherever the effect should be. What's rotating? Yeah, rotating is different. So in rotating it will basically just switch between, so like from between better, bigger, faster, like this. And then we could have like multiple options like clip, we could have flip. So lots of different options around here. Highlighted is also nice one to use. Duration, delay, I think how late should show up, right? Or I'm not sure what delay does. It adds delay, but I don't know where. Also, we don't want to add infinite loop, I guess. I think it is for this stuff. So if I add delay, then it will take, sorry, for infinite loop, it will take 8 seconds. It will show the animation, the final state of the animation, and after 8 seconds, it will do the second time. But if I just close it, it will just do it once, and then the delay option is gone. Hey, we both are learning today. Weird, I'm making the tutorial though. The shape color, the border one, and then headline colors. Pretty easy. Pretty easy. Hotspot, you might use this commonly. You could add any image around here, and when you add the image, you go into hotspot, and this stuff, let me call it hello so that we can see it. Let's add an icon so that we can just remove this stuff. And then basically when you hover on it, add your tooltip. Is it based on click? Okay, it is based on click. So what we are basically doing, let's say if you add an image of, let's say, a house, and then there is like tables and then chairs, and then you want to showcase that this table is made of mahogany wood and all, and then you want to show it based on the image, you could add this hotspots. And basically let me just add the label, or maybe like if you don't want to add the label, you cannot. If you don't want to add, you just don't. I will add it for this tutorial at least. And in the tooltip, I will make it on hover. So when I hover on it, it just shows it, and I can choose where I want it to show. If I want to show it on the left side, if I want to show it on the top side, if I want to show it on the bottom side, and then the animation, fade, grow and all. The issue is in the style tab. Let me just quickly do this. In the hotspot, I believe this one, nope, this one is changing. This one, in this one, yep, there we go. Now it's much more visible. So you could see on hover, we can just add any content around here. So if I go into my hotspot, in the table section, I have an option to add the icon, change the icons, and then choose whatever I want to add the text inside it around here. And then if you want to make it have like a specific direction, and this one is, if you go into like a tooltip and then choose this one, it is doing for universal. But what you can also do is, if you want to have like specific position for just this one, let me do is duplicate it. So right now, let me move the position. So now you could see both of them have like the universal thing, but for this one, what I want to do is I want it to just make sure custom tooltip properties is on, and then on top. So for this one specific, it would use the top one, and this one you would use the universal one, because we have chosen custom tooltip tips. And this is important when you are actually using for like mobile web, because the image gets smaller. So sometimes you might need to like change it like this or change it to the top. So that's one thing that you could do. Is there anything else left in here? Text wrap basically tries to wrap it in whatever size you have set it to, like this. Sequence animation. So the sequence animation is not visible right now, so let me just see if we can actually add the settings to do that. So for that we will actually need to add some color, I believe, and then this is the animation that we will keep on doing here for the sequence animation, and we have like different options. So like different animations. So there's overlay, and then soft beat like this, expand, and then obviously you could change the border width and all to make it look like circle. We can only have like an text here. Lots an option that you could just change it, and I'm not going to do and show like each and everything. Just play around the values and you will understand. I'm only going to show like the common stuff that we actually use. Price list, I never used this one. It is basically just showing like different price list. Never used one. You can just use container to make it. I don't know why it's there. Price table, again, never used it. You could just manually make it with container. Basically, when you have selected this stuff and then make it like row horizontal, and then when I add like a container in here and duplicate it, and then duplicate it, okay, why is it not doing it? Hello? Okay, because wrap is selected. Okay, without wrap, then we can see we can basically add our own design in it and then not have to rely on that limited widget. So I'm not even going to show you that widget, that is pricing plan. You can basically use it, there's no problem with that. You could basically just duplicate it and use it however you want it to be. If you don't want to like create your own design and have some like unique stuff, but basically it's all just changing text and all. There's nothing crazy in it, just quick options like this. Because I've never used a pricing table like that, I've always made it. Flip box is basically when you hover on it, it just shows like second element, and basically so the content, and then if you want to add like a background what you call background color or background image to it, you could do it. You could also remove this one, stacked, framed, everything similar. Then the back one always similar. We could also add like link only in the back one, obviously, where the flip direction should be. 3D depth, so that way you can add like this 3D depth, so you can see how cool this looks. Flip effect, there's like multiple type of effects that you could do. Zoom in, zoom out, and then fade. If you want to add some border radius to it, and then change the height of it. This one is for SEO. In the background section, again, spacing, very normal stuff. Icon size, icon padding, all the names specifically just tells you what it does. Call to action, you could also make this with just your container and then actually adding an image, stuff like this, but you actually get a nice one thing that you get is this nice growing effect. And another main thing that you get is, if I go in, let me check how I can do it. Okay, so I got confused for a bit, but basically when you add a link, you get this option. I was looking for this option, but I cannot find where it was, but basically it only shows when you type here. And the best part is you could make the whole box into a link, and you could obviously do it with just like the container element and then what I showed to do in advanced. But again, this one has this nice animation and there's nothing crazy about it. It's just a quicker way to do it. So we have media carousel, and basically it's similar to carousel, but here we can have video or video or image. All of these settings are same to what we have seen in other carousels, just the option is to have video in it. Testimonial carousel, again, just use the loop carousel if you're going to use it, but it just adds a carousel and nothing much. There's only like one design option which I never used. Reviews, so again you can basically create this yourself with loop carousel. These are old widgets. These were presented when loop carousel didn't exist and you had to be limited to this design. So I'm not going to show you because I am 100% sure these are just going to be like get lost in future. So I'm not, and I think it's just better for you to learn the loop carousel rather than using the pre-made design, because that gives you like more creative control over it. If table of content is basically, if you add it in the blog post, it will automatically add the table of content basically. So if you see into this page, this is the widget that I have used, and then it basically just automatically checks for h1 tag and then h2 tag, h3 tag. If you need to learn like SEO stuff a bit, basically this one is h2 tag and this one is h3 tag and this one is h3 tag, and because it knows how this works, so this one is h2 and this one is h2, then it will automatically just add the h3 tag in this one. Just check how the SEO works, and that's what is used for table of content. Countdown adds a countdown, nothing much, it just adds a countdown. That's all it does. We have inline block option. If you want to show just days, not sorry, if you don't want to show days, you could remove it. Action after expire, so as soon as, let's say, someone is checking this page and you have like 20 seconds left, and as soon as the page gets to 0, it will redirect to some other page. It will just hide, or it will basically just say that the sale is live, go buy, something like that. Custom label is basically changing what you want to change around there. 22 sad. Yep, 22 sad. Type is due date or evergreen timer. Evergreen timer is just, so the evergreen timer, I believe when it expires, it just keeps on going again and again and again. I've never used it, so that's all it does. And everything else is just similar, like nothing crazy. Everything's very common. Everything about Elementor, once you have learned one of the widget, one or two widgets, you will understand it, and the rest of it is basically just having reading this text like what is it. It's container widget, obviously, sorry, container width, so obviously it's going to be like this. Pretty easy, self-explanatory, but I'm still going to go in with each and everything. Share button adds a share button, and the way it checks is basically it just says the target page. So when you click on it, it will just open a page. It will open like a Facebook pop-up, which would be trying to showcase, sorry, not showcase, but basically add the share link of this URL. You could also add like custom target URL. So if you want to have specific page that you want to share, then you could do that. All of these are same, just adding icons and all. Network which are present. I think you cannot control the icons. You can only have like icons. Skin type minimal, flat, boxed icons. Rounded, circle, columns, we only want like, let's say 2 by 2. Tags stuff, let's go into style, column gap, icon size, we have already done that. We have custom option. I don't think we can use like specific for each and every one, each color. So yeah, we don't have. We can change the label, so like consider share on Facebook like this, and then have that option. block quote just adds this quote, and then there's an option to tweet. I've never used this. Okay, there's an option to tweet. I don't know if this works actually. Target URL current page. Okay, never used it. I'm sorry, not going to show that. I think I might. I've never used it. I don't think why there's like a tweet option or where you can use it. Again, Facebook button. I have not used this either, because everything that is used like Twitter, Facebook, or anything, you have to do this API setup, and I've never done the API setup. Just like type recommend. So again, we cannot do it without having to like do like this API. So unless we do that API, we are not going to know what it is. We can add the Facebook page. I believe we need to add that API again. We want to showcase like this page like this. So I cannot showcase it because we will need to do like the API setup. Template, basically we can just showcase whichever template that we have in here. We can use like shortcode too, so I'm not sure why that's even an option. Just an extra option, I guess. So Lottie animations, I already have a tutorial on how you can make this Lottie animations and how you can upload it, how you can make it for free, and then also how you can make it without getting Elementor Pro 2. So that's all. I have too many tutorials, so check it out. So we have external URL, and basically you will need to add the URL of the Lottie files that you find on different sites, and here we can upload our own JSON files. So let me just check this one. You will need to make your own this stuff, and you could see we got this nice animation. When it should trigger, if only it should trigger on hover like this. If this should loop on hover out, pause like this. Like cool, right? We can do it based on scroll. So not sure how that works. I've never used on scroll. On click, obviously when we click, and then we can choose when it should trigger. So if it should trigger when we are at top bottom. So these sliders are a bit confusing to me because I am not much familiar, but you could see how this works. We can choose how it works. I'll try. I wish I could explain this sliders, but these are very confusing to me. So I'm sorry, I cannot explain like 100%, but I'll try to do as much as possible. There's like start point and end point. So if you just want to start it at like, or sorry, end it at like certain point in that tutorial in this stuff, render, SVG, lazy load, always good to do lazy load. Then the style is how big this should be, max width, opacity, pretty basic stuff. So code highlight is basically where you could add your code to showcase. So if you go into my blog, this is how I add my code. So if you add the code highlight, you can basically add this elements, and it gives an option to like copy code. So where it was code highlight, and then you choose which type of code you are using, and then you paste it here, and then we can choose like line numbers, if the button should be available, which is like copy to code, word wrap, theme. We have multiple themes that we can use, height, font size, and nothing in advanced. So the next thing is video playlist. Basically we can add like multiple YouTube videos in a playlist, and it does not add like YouTube playlist. You cannot just copy paste the playlist link and then add it here. You manually have to add like different videos and create a playlist of videos around here if you want to showcase stuff. So there's tab 1, tab 2. Okay, so the way the tab 1 and tab 2 works. So there is an option to add like tabs, but I have not used it ever. This content tabs, and never used this playlist too. but basically I'll just add stuff in it, and then if I click, you could see we have multiple tabs, and then we also have the image, or basically have, there we go, content. Not sure why it's not showing the video, but again I'm not sure what the tabs do perfectly, but this is how you just actually load the video, and then just the video would play here. We are in preview page, so it's a bit buggy in the preview page, but it works perfectly. I've used it on one client and it has worked perfectly. And then we can add an image overlay. I just wish we could add like image overlay for like each different one. Do we have an option to add image? Yep, we can add like different image overlay, or actually no, this is just a thumbnail, so maybe not sure. We have autoplay, indicate watched, so what we have watched it will just show here. Play icon, lazy load, and all of this are basic stuff. Video positions, top bar, which is not sure what top bar is, but yeah, never use the playlist a lot, only use like one or twice, so let's keep it like that. There's PayPal button, Stripe button. We can add like a PayPal button that just basically opens the PayPal link to your email, and then anyone can just send you money. Then Stripe button again. Then progress tracker. Basically the progress tracker we need to do is, if I make it fixed like this, you could see how it works. When I scroll, it shows how much I've scrolled. And the best part is about progress tracker, that we can actually choose which one it is. So if we let's say, so right now if we do like post content and you add it to the blog, it will only do it for the post content. But you could also do is add selector, and then let's say add like track, something like this, and then here we just add the class. And do we have to add the dot? So you could see it is working, but because this is only like one page size, it is not working that well. So let me just make it, let's say like 2000. So you could see how this is working based on this stuff. We can add percentage option too. So let me just make it to like entire page. We have circular, so basically like this. We have horizontal, we have percentage, which will show around here, percentage position, direction, if you want it to go from like right to left, we have the option. And in the style tab, it's just normal ones, all the color and stuff. Next we have carousel. Basically everything same that I've shown. The only thing is we can choose how the display should be, and we can add like nice slides and carousel with it with our own design. So nothing crazy on that part too. I think I have shown you most of the stuff from WordPress, sorry, Elementor. But we do have some WooCommerce pages and all. So let me showcase some stuff. So if I add products, it will show the products. And right now the way this looks is controlled by my theme. For some reason images are not loading, but it's just a bug, I think, in the preview page. So there's like pagination option. Again, the WooCommerce stuff is like very limited as much as I know. Not sure why the images are not loading. So like column gap, this gap, all this color spacing, pricing and all. But this is based on my theme settings. So yeah, the widget is affected by your themes and plugins. So this is actually controlled by my theme, but which is why I'm not using this one at all. But if you want to use If it works with your theme very nicely, then obviously use it if you want to showcase some products. So you could also select like manual selection or like specific products by like term and then product category that we did before. WooCommerce pages, it basically just lists the pages. It will basically like list the pages or like the page, I guess. It is showing the whole page, but you could say it is not working because my theme is overriding it. Again, I don't believe anybody used that widget at all. Custom add to cart is basically, so let me go into here, and you could just choose let's say a widget, or sorry, a product, and then when you click add to cart, it will basically just add it to your page. So if you want to create like a featured hero section or feature section somewhere, and then you want to do like a manual stuff or manually add it, or add a button somewhere in that design, but you want that button to be like actually working to add to cart, so you could do that with this button. Layout stacked, this one will only work if we add a show quantity, but the show quantity I don't think will work because I have set it to not show quantity in the WooCommerce product. Again, it's very rare for people to use this custom add to cart everywhere, but also there's like WooCommerce shortcode for it too if you want to use it. But basically, if you want to create like specific design where you want to show the featured product and want to add to cart, then you could do that. WooCommerce breadcrumbs, not interested. Menu cart, yep, we will add that. Checkout, cart page, my account page, purchase summary, and WooCommerce. That is when you want to create like specific design for the WooCommerce pages. So this is something that you could add it in your header page. So if I go and change the background color, something like this, if I click on it, it adds my, this side header or side cart that you could make in your header. And here you could choose the subtotal or not. You could make it height empty if you want to do like plain, if you want to have this button, if you want to have like different stylings like this, you have all of this. Basically all of this is just changing the icon. Oh, it basically just says icon. Yeah, I didn't even realize. So you have option of adding mini cart, which is basically like this, or side cart, on click or on hover. I don't think why you should do on hover, because it does not close automatically. So then the cart position where you want it to be, close cart, so show the option to close cart, which is the close button. Remove item icon, so basically the X, which is not shown here, but if I add it right now, you see the X around there. Cart divider, which is this stuff, dividers. Vertical position of this button, so if you want to add the button at the bottom. Open cart every time an item is added, you could do that if you want to. And update cart, automatic update cart, we want that to happen. Everything else is just normal settings. Everything's normal, just going into it and then just changing it manually for normal and hover, just color and padding, nothing crazy. So now that we have seen it, let me show you where you will actually be using it. So if I actually go to, so the way you make it is basically go into your theme builder. So go into templates, then go into theme builder. And in here you could choose like the product archive and then create a template around here. So for example, I have created, you're not seeing it here because I created in another I've created in another plugin, but you could actually make it around here too. It is all same step. Just click add new and then create it, and it will basically create the same step that I've done. And then you just need to select that it works for every product, so whenever the conditioner is set. And here we will basically add, so right now you could see it says WL. It is not present with what you call Elementor. It is actually another plugin that I'm using, Shoplinter. If you want to do for free, you could actually use Shoplinter without having Elementor Pro. I have Elementor Pro, but I have used Shoplenter for like specific reason. But basically, this is what you do. You add your video gallery or like product gallery or whatever it is. I have so many plugins that it is hard to find. But let's quickly go to WooCommerce. So we will add product images, which is with Elementor Pro, and basically we will just drag it in, and it will basically just, so you could see it's not showing, but it will actually be showing when we will be checking in, or when you would be using with, the theme builder. This is where I've made with Shoplenter, which is why it's not showing, but this is how it will be shown to you guys. And basically I use Shoplenter because it has like much more things. With Elementor Pro does not have that much options, even when they have added the new features for WooCommerce. Especially they added like loop builder, which is like crazy. And these are the same stuffs that you can get. And the reason why I'm using Shoplenter is because it allows me to add like videos to my product gallery, and I have a video on it how you could add it. But it's the same step. We just add, I showed you how we can add. We will basically add like heading. We'll go in here, and then here we will type post title, or in the WooCommerce we will type product title like this, and it will show around there. It will just show the product title. So when you do it with theme library, it will be showing you. Right now it's not showing me because I am making it in Shoplenter, but all the steps are same, like nothing's different. And you just keep adding like the product short description and all from the WooCommerce section. So like all of this section, so we will add to cart. Basically we will add this add to cart here, and it will work. Then WooCommerce notices, which is added around here. It is not shown, but the stuff, it is only shown when we like add to cart, and it will give like a pop-up saying that. So right now I need to show you like a product which actually has that. So if I go in here and then click add to cart, you see it gives me a pop-up, and then you could just decide where the pop-up should be, like we've got, or if for example I have said that this product can only be downloaded once, buyed once. So now when I click add to cart, it will give like this another notice. Categories, again, just using Elementor widgets. There is not much like customizability available with it, which is why I'm not showing you. But basically like breadcrumbs and all. So WooCommerce breadcrumbs, we can add it, and it will show like home digital downloads, stuff like that. Pretty easy to do. Again, these are widgets that are present with Elementor, and then related products and all. Again, it is very limited, which is why I'm like very confused whether I should show it or not. But it is same, nothing crazy. For like title, you will get this many options only, and then it is this many options only. For short description, you will get like this many options only, and then advanced, and then content. There is really not much options when it comes for like WooCommerce customizability. The only thing that you could do is change the layout with Elementor like this, which is why I'm using Shoplenter. But even though I'm using Shoplenter, there is still it is still limited, and that's why I still use themes, because lots of the times themes actually help to like just quickly fix these things or have some extra settings around here. So if you go into your theme builder, go into, let's say, your single post, you could actually decide how the single post works. So basically if I do add new, and then you could actually keep creating some templates with the dynamic elements, and that way this one would just help you to have that consistency without having to work for every single thing. So obviously there are templates and all. I think I should show you how you can just add templates. Basically if you click on this one, add templates, you can actually, if how I sell template how I give templates in my website, all you need to click import, and then upload the file here, and then it will just showcase around here, and just click insert, and then the template is added. Or you could also, let's say you created a page and you want to save it, you could just click here, save, and then paste it, take a name and then save it, and then it will just save it in the library so that you could keep using it as a template wherever you want to. For example, this all templates are available on my website that you could get for free, and these are something that Elementor provides for free, this blocks and library. So let's say if I inserted this one and click no, don't apply. So you can see this is how it works. So this is the layout that would be set by automatically, and obviously you could create it manually. So if I just remove everything, or not everything, but let's say here I will just add is post title, so like this, and now it will just show the post title. I can do the settings and all, so whenever someone goes into the single post, it will show this design. Post excerpt, again, really not much controls, because we are creating it dynamically. So this is the post content, and then we have like author box, post navigation. This is where we could add our progress tracker to, like this stuff. Then we could add our comments. We have like skin, there's not much option for skin, and the best part is you could actually have any style that you want to make here, and that's what makes this good for using. And especially if you want to, like, let's say add image like this, and then choose a featured image like this, then it will also add like a featured image. And if you use ACF, which is advanced custom field, it actually helps you to create like more fields around here to add your custom contents for each one. But this is not a tutorial for ACF. So you could actually create any layout that you want, and so whenever you will be going into like a blog page, you would see is that post design that you have made. So like this, if you create a nice post layout, it would actually look like nicely, looks good. And then buttons and all, login button and all, comment button and all. So everything that you do, all you have to do is click publish, and then you have to add condition, and then we have to do is where do you want the post to be shown, or this template should be applied. So we can choose like it should be applied to post, all post, or we could do is we could only apply the post to how do I do for category? So if I go into post and then in category like this, so like post in category, we could do is we could only apply this one to like website related. So whichever has website with related category, I can just save and close, and it will work, and update that to that page. And everything's very same to all of it. We just basically just add our stuff, add the templates and all, and whatever I've shown before this video showing each element and all, we just add that and then use the dynamic ones. There isn't much difference between that. Else I would have gone into each and every one, and I would have shown you how I make it. This one again is a header, and then you could just apply it to the whole site. Like you could make a header here like this, add the sticky effect if you want to, like it so that it is sticky on top. Give it like nice Z index, like 99 or something. Give it like a nice background. And then we have this, and if you use motion effect, you could make it, let's say if you make this background transparent, and if you want to do like motion effects, which is scrolling effect, and then what you could do is background, we can make it, where is it, make it transparency, and then there is Elementor tutorial on it on how you can make it, on scroll it turns into solid. For first it would be transparent, and when you scroll it would be solid. There's tutorial on it, and I'm not sure how you can do it. I never used it, so, and it's pretty easy, so I'll just tell you guys that you could do it. That's like the best way I can tell you. And then you could have it just for WooCommerce, singular in like this in category. So only in post in category and specific one, or you could have it for the entire site. So that's cool thing that you could do. And if you're wondering how I've done it for my site, this site, I have not used this one. I have just been using Ocean WP's, or the theme that I'm using is Ocean WP, and I'm using their header and footer. To be honest, I don't really think I know if anything is left or not. But if it's left, I hope you find like something else, or like I will create another tutorial, I guess. But this one turned out to be too big. This one is like 3 hours 11 minutes. And I cannot even get into details of every single thing, else it would be too bigger, which is why I started rushing at the end. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Use the links in description to support me, please. And that's all. Thank you.